of Agile and DevOps. It undermines the team self-organization and the fact that the team needs to own their work and deliver that quality. You need to build quality into the process of creating the software result. And the development manager needs to make it so that the team knows the techniques that they can use, has the culture that's required for them to deliver high quality as they do their work, whether that's test-driven development, behavior-driven development, a culture of high unit test coverage. And a large part of that also is the recognition that since the responsibility of the people writing the actual features and delivering the code should, in an agile DevOps world, be the same people who are verifying that the quality of the code meets the expectations of the stakeholders, that automation is going to be a large portion of what they do. They want to have repeatable artifacts used like they do for all their other things to verify the quality of what they're delivering. There's no way we should waste the talents of people who can find high levels of abstract detail doing that type of repetitive work. It should be automated. And the development manager's job is to make it so that the teams know what I just said, value what I just said, have a culture of quality, and know that their job as they write the code, without being able to throw it over the wall over some faceless victims, that their job is to deliver quality day one out the door, and that the development manager's job is done when they have a team that learns to be that way, have that culture. Not do quality assurance tasks for sure. Culture is the most important thing in teams. The teams need to say, my job is to deliver quality, preferably, and sometimes this is viewed in a negative, as a negative eat your own dog food motivation, is that if the people on the team are going to be the ones who have to get up at 2 a.m., if the thing doesn't work in production, then they're going to be highly motivated to make sure that what they put out the door has high quality, because the people who have to suffer the consequences of inattention are them. And so they need to completely absorb that ethos of quality is my job. You have Selenium and JMeter, and then there's Webomates and all the various tools. The first set of that traditional world, Webomates is introducing a very exciting new AI-driven world, but the team really needs to understand how to interact and use this tool effectively. You can't just write the tests and walk away. You need to be able to pay attention to the results. And you need to make sure that they're capturing how well strategically are we capturing the metrics, defect escape rates, what are the KPIs we're using to verify, are we getting better at this? Are we producing code with fewer defects that get even into whatever testing apparatus that we're using? Are we making sure that none of that code gets past which environment? And certainly, ideally, none of those defects ever make it into production. Are you measuring all those things? What is measured is what is done. And so the team needs to have a culture not only of recognizing it as the responsibility, but that they need to be paying attention to the metrics and using those to drive concrete changes of team behavior. I was at Comcast is using, test cases created manually in test case creation tools. We were using automation, but we were investing a tremendous amount in the programming of that automation. We tried to embrace, and we're embracing, the DevOps and Agile ideas of trying to reduce the amount of specialization of the teams and having people all sort of wear the hat of getting the unfortunate responsibility of maybe taking the production incident calls for that sprint, or maybe focusing more on shoring up the lack of completeness in the test regime. At Education Advanced, I got there, and there was no culture of testing at all. There wasn't an already established. There was unit tests, but they were mostly being ignored. There was no integration tests or end-to-end tests. It was all being done manually. We had people writing test cases manually and then executing on them with human observation. I have to say that once I really understood not only how much the costs were involved in editing the tests and keeping them relevant as the system evolves, especially when you're moving in an agile way where you're changing the system in fundamental ways on a regular basis. You need to be fearless in DevOps and constantly making these changes. Therefore, if you want to automate all your testing, your testing needs to be able to keep up with that fearless release as fast as you can and make sure that your quality is high at the same time as you're doing it. The initial test suite doesn't just crawl the code to see what the test should be, but actually does natural language processing on the user stories. That's what any agile team needs to be able to do. Well-written user stories that express what the deliverable is supposed to be, actually create the tests alongside of crawling the existing code. That also saves you lots of time of manually constructing the tests. I think that there's so many other places, opportunities to be able to use it to reduce the handoffs and interpret the higher level abstractions that the human should spend their time doing instead of doing this repetitive stuff. The team needs to have self-organization. A tremendous amount of the challenge at my last job, and I suspect this will be in many places, is the team needs to believe. The team are the most important skeptics, not me. It's they who need to understand not only their responsibilities, but how this tool could help them deliver those responsibilities. And that requires a paradigm shift in thinking. The same type of resistance I had is the resistance that the whole rest of the team has. It's like you have to convince the team that the philosophy of what this product is doing and how it can deliver is going to enable them to get their work done, rather than it just be another on the endless list of everything gets shifted to the left. It's like, no, you want to shift this to the left. It's going to make your life easier. Here's how. And you need to invest the time as a development manager, regardless of whether you use this tool or any other, in convincing them that this way of approaching the problem is going to produce higher quality results and make you happier with what your contribution to what we're doing is. And I think that was the next challenge we had as far as how to execute. It was more how to get the humans to understand the brave new world we were going into and what new opportunities they had to change to doing things that they didn't have time to do before, and make them excited by that. There was an assumption, oh, I am the only one who can see these stories in whatever repository we're working in before the sprint begins, says the traditional QA test case writer. How could a tool do that? It was a really weird, counterintuitive conflict we were having sometimes in the team. Well, like, why is this thing doing what I've already done? It's like, because you don't need to do it anymore. It's hard to stop the routine of what you're used to doing when the tool is doing it for you. Spend your time working about like whether the aesthetic sense or the flow or the speed or performance things that automation can also do, but that there's more abstract things. Spend your time validating those higher quality user experience things instead of this, and let the tool do it.